where wherever you're at is perfect. And hopefully you have a pencil. If you don't, go ahead and grab one now. We're going to begin by drawing a couple of simple butterfly shapes. Let me actually switch to this larger sheet for this. This is just my sample in my sketchbook that I did last night. By the way, is the sound okay for everyone? Not too loud, not too quiet? Thanks for the thumbs up. Okay, excellent. And I did have some background music playing. Let me get that going again. Let me know if the background music gets to be too loud at any point. I can turn down the volume. Okay, so for this, I would say fill up the page with as many butterflies as you'd like. I think I found that I did this pretty quickly. Each butterfly can be as quick as a couple of seconds, depending on how much detail you want. So if you've got a 2-page spread, maybe fill the whole spread. But to start, what I would do, oops, oh no. To start, what I'm gonna do is draw a line down the center. Oh, hi, kitty. And then maybe simple shapes like that. And you can refer to the images I dropped in the chat for shape ideas. There are some really unique shapes on there. Let me fix this camera. There we go. Some of them have like much more dramatic curves on top. I will sketch mine like so, maybe one stroke at a time, trying to mirror what I see here. And I'm just picking like random shapes that I see. Doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, I know some of mine are going to be a bit crooked. Maybe that's one. And by the way, feel free to drop any questions in the chat at any time. Welcome in, Janice. And hi, Teresa. I didn't get to say hi to you earlier. And Susan. Let me see. I gotta make sure I can see everyone's faces with the way I have this set up. We're just filling up our page here with butterfly shapes. Let's see. Now, Janice, you're not able to see the previous messages in the chat, right? Okay, let me try to drop this one more time here. I had put in some inspiration photos. I'm going to repopulate the chat with these now. No worries. I know because we have such little time, I get started right away. It's unfortunately easy to miss stuff, but I'm trying to keep today's pace in a way where you can't really miss much because we're just filling up this page with butterfly shapes. Make sure this sends. Okay, there we go. And I had shared a sample earlier. You'll see in a moment. Just loosely. Let me draw some lines there. And keep going for maybe a couple minutes, and then after a few more minutes, we'll start to fill them in with color. And I'm going to review the same technique we went over last time, but go a little bit more in detail about other options we can explore on top of that technique, which was the wet on wet technique. Okay, I'll try trying to encourage myself to try different shapes here. I personally have not drawn butterflies a lot, and I tend to draw the same style every time. So today I'm going to try something different. And I encourage you to do the same if you aren't already. like my new camera stand, I can adjust the height. Okay. If anyone's got questions on how to draw these, please feel free. You can unmute yourself or just drop a comment in the chat. For those who are new to me, and for those who had met me last week, you're going to hear me repeat myself a lot. But I just want to introduce myself and say I'm in California. I'm a watercolor instructor primarily, and I also facilitate workshops. I love to do paint and sip events. And this Zoom series is a way for me to actually explore teaching over Zoom. So I appreciate you for joining me today. You're helping me learn. And at the end of each session, I do have a feedback form for y'all to fill out. And I got some responses last time, which I really, really appreciate. It helps me improve each session. And I hope I can make each one a bit better for you. Okay, I think I'll do a couple of tiny ones. How are y'all doing with filling up your page? Are you about done, or do you need a little bit more time? Oh, you don't have to copy it exactly. Actually. Oh, yeah, I'm just looking at different ones that I saw. Hold on, I'm going to do a little adjustment with my camera, so you're going to lose the camera for a sec here. Hold on. I want it to zoom out. There we go. Okay. And then I'll tilt this a little bit. I just got a new camera stand just for these Zoom sessions. Looks like it's working out. If you've got empty space, by the way, we can fill it with some pretty patterns later. So it sounds like I'm going to assume everyone's got a good number of butterflies now. So I'm going to move on to the next step. Feel free at any time to let me know if you want me to repeat something or if I'm going too fast. I'm happy to repeat or slow down. So for my next step, just because I personally don't want to see all the lines showing so much, I'm going to lighten this a little bit with my eraser. I've got a kneaded eraser here, so it doesn't leave behind eraser shavings. And I can just gently rub on here to remove some of this pencil. For my demonstrations, I always draw kind of dark just so my students can see what I'm doing. If you're going to paint really dark over this, then the pencil's going to be covered up anyway, but I think I want to try using some light colors today. Okay, so I need to make a slight adjustment to my screen. Okay, here. So what I'm going to begin with is one layer of water with a light color, and then I'm going to drop in colors into that so that those second colors that I drop in can blend. For those who were here last week, same idea. And this time we're going to follow maybe some butterfly shapes. In my sample here on the left, I kind of just loosely copied what I saw in some of the images I uploaded. I didn't copy any of them exactly because I was experimenting a lot. You're welcome to copy or not, however you please. This is your art. I'm just here for guidance if you want it. Maybe I'll leave this. Actually, I think I can put that right there so you can see everything. So I have just dunked my brush into the water. And if I just pull it out, it's going to have so much water, it's dripping. I don't want that much because then I'll end up leaving puddles on my paper just because I'm not painting that large of a space. So anytime you have excess water, you can rub it against the ridge of your cup to squeeze some out. You'll see droplets come out. I don't know if you can tell on my screen here. You can kind of see it. I don't want a lot, but when I do want a lot, I just let it soak that all up. And I guess for the first one, I'll try a pinkish color. So I'm gonna go with a red that I have in my palette and just swish a little bit in there. And then I always like to take that and put it onto my palette so I can see better how it looks. This gives me a sense of how concentrated it is or not. And this is not much water for what I'm trying to paint, so I'm going to pick up more from my cup, drop it right in here. For me, I'm looking for a lightness and consistency that's about this much. So it's pretty watery. I describe it like I've seen on YouTube. I describe it as a light tea consistency. And it's watery enough to where I can see this water flow on my palette if I tilt it a lot. This is what I'm looking for. Because in watercolor, the amount of water you use is really important for blending. And this is where it takes a lot of practice to get a sense of that water control. And so you can watch this step first. And Teresa, if you're, are you working with acrylics today? Oh, okay. Awesome. Well, I was going to say, if you're still working with acrylics, you can actually do this with acrylics too. It just might not blend as much because it's thicker. Yeah. But watercolor can get really thin because it's so fine and very pigmented. Okay, so I've got this mix. This is the first step you can watch. I'm going to fill in the butterfly of my choice. And I'm using enough water to where I can see that water sitting on top and it's still wet it will stay wet for a few minutes. If this is your very first time, it's going to take a few tries to get a good feel for it. But what I would recommend at any point of your art practice is just to practice observing and notice patterns like how much water affects how fast it dries and how it looks. So if you look at the screen right now, you can see how shiny this is. This is going to stay wet, at least with this paper, for I think a couple of minutes. But one thing you should know about watercolor supplies, every type of paper, every brand, brush, paint affects how it looks and it affects how it interacts with each other. So if your painting looks different from one you're trying to copy and you're not sure if you have the same supplies, that could be part of the reason why it doesn't look exactly how you want it to look. You can blame the supplies in this case. So yeah, every single brand is different. Every type is different. So it's, you got to play with it to see how it behaves. Okay, so I want it to be this wet. If at any point it starts to dry, it's not going to blend. And if it does dry, just add that water right back in on top. And you can tell that it's dry when it's not shiny anymore, pretty much. Sometimes it's actually still wet if it's not shiny anymore. That's when it feels slightly damp or cold to the touch. But I want it this wet so that I can put color in and make it blend. So I've got that initial layer now. Does anyone need a bit more time before I show the next part? Nope, nope, okay. This is actually time sensitive, so I'm gonna add that color now before this dries up. This color I want to add is going to be much more concentrated and darker, so I'm not going to blend in nearly as much water. For this exercise, I'll try a different color. I've got this nice magenta right here. And just like before, I'm going to put this into my mixing tray so I can see how wet and concentrated it is. And this time, because I want it thicker and more concentrated, I'm aiming for kind of a creamy consistency. And if you look closely enough, you can see this one is not as watery as the first color I made. It's barely flowing. The other one's flowing past it on the side here. It's so thick. You know, if it's that thick, when I drop it in here, I'm going to have a very vivid color. And it's going to bloom just like that. If I had made a more watery consistency for this drop of color, it's going to spread way more. And it would look lighter too if it were less concentrated, because it's mixing with what's on the surface of this paper. If I've got any puddles, which I do on the bottom here, the water flows in less predictable ways. And it might leave like a splotchy mark when it dries, but I'm gonna let that happen. If you've got a puddle like mine and you don't want it there, you can blot it with a corner of a paper towel. If I were to do that on mine, I'll take this. And using the corner just so I soak up as little as possible. That removes that spot. But if you're really curious and this is your first time doing watercolor, you just want to see how it looks if you leave it there, you can do that. That's just to show how to remove it. So that's step number 2. Adding color on top while that surface is still wet. Depending on the type of paper you're using, some might dry faster than others. So that's something to be mindful of as you're working. Just being familiar with the materials that you're using. I kind of like to describe it as like getting into a relationship with it. You're getting to know it by using it a lot, and you're developing a relationship by through lots of interaction. Experimenting with an outline here. I don't know if I like it. Through this process, you can drop however many colors you want, wherever you want. And we'll treat each butterfly like this. I'm going to do one butterfly at a time. And if I want to add more detail later with hard edges, I'm going to do that after I probably finish all of these, the first step, and then paint those in once this initial layer dries. Any questions so far? Is anyone struggling? This watercolor medium can be very finicky. And if you're having a hard time, I don't blame you. I think I spent the first 2 years of my watercolor learning being really mad at the watercolor. Because I was like, why doesn't it look the way I want it to? Why is the water doing that? Oh yeah, definitely. I think it's hard. It can be harder than it looks. And I'm only able to do what I'm doing after tons and tons and tons of trial and error. I think sometimes people who've done a lot of practice don't show where they started or what they have to do to get there, and it can be kind of discouraging because you don't see their journey. It's many hours of hard work. I'm gonna continue to fill this page here and repeat this process. Different colors. And for these two, right now I'm applying the colors straight from the palette, but feel free to mix them before you put them on the palette too. And as a beginner right now, you're learning a lot of things, so it might feel kind of overwhelming with all this information. But you'll get used to it over time as you hear it over and over again and practice over and over again. Your body will get more familiar with the medium, and your brain, your hands. I just noticed it's already 11:24 Pacific, so I feel like we just started. I was hoping I would pace this one a bit better, but I can stay on longer for those who want to keep working together on Zoom. And I hope I've explained this in a way where you feel comfortable to continue painting after the session ends, that you know enough to just keep practicing the technique and filling up this page in your spare time if you don't get to finish today. I'm going to try to mix some unusual colors just to see what happens. This is an ultramarine blue in my palette. It's really dark. One thing, if you have this as a tool, if you have a spritz bottle or a spray bottle, it can be really helpful to spray your palette if you have a dry palette before you start painting. I've gotten kind of lazy and I haven't been doing that, but if you have a spray bottle, it really helps to activate the palette before you get started, and it doesn't take as much work to get the paint onto your brush. Whoa. Oh, that's kind of wild. Okay. I'll try a different color. One color harmony tip I can give is if you stick to colors that are close to each other on the color palette, that might give it a more harmonious look than if you were to use like opposite colors. Of course, so like in this case, I can do yellow, orange, maybe red. Those are all neighboring colors. I've got the orange right now. Give that an antenna. I'm gonna let mine get really blotchy here. You'll probably notice as you're working on this, the first layer is gradually drying, and the more it dries, and as you're working on that, the paint will spread less and less. So general rule of thumb with watercolor, the more wet it is, the more it will blend. The more dry it is, the less it will blend. So more water equals more blending, less water equals less blending. When it's completely dry, no blending whatsoever is going to happen. Your color will just sit on top of the previous layer or the paper. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about the effects that you want to create. And then if you've got a puddle, then your paint will kind of just spread wherever that puddle is in unpredictable ways. So if you want more control, I would recommend no puddles. But if you're feeling kind of wild and want to really experiment, then let there be puddles. Those will take longer to dry though. And for the center of these butterflies, where the body is, you can use whatever colors you like, as long as, I suppose they're dark enough so you can see them against the wings. I'm going to try gray here. I will typically, as a personal preference, rather than use black, I'll just make use a very dark color. It just, for me, I like the effect of having a very colorful painting by using colorful darks. But black is not bad. Wow, it's already 11:30. So if you need to go, feel free to go. I'm going to stay on longer and keep painting here. And for all those who joined, if you have a couple minutes, I would appreciate a little bit of feedback. It can take just as little as 2-3 minutes to fill out. Let me, here are the links. I have one. The first one is for actually a Google review, if you'd like to leave a review. The Google review is very, very helpful for my business. If you enjoyed this session, I would appreciate it if you can leave a kind review and maybe a photograph of what you're working on, or even a screenshot of me. That gives me an extra boost. And if you have other thoughts on this session, second form I would also love to have you fill out whenever you get a chance. And if now is the best time for you to do it, go ahead and do it now. Same questions as last time for those who filled it out before. And if you want to share this with your friends and family, you can share with them the Eventbrite link I just dropped. If you're looking for recommended supplies, also drop that link too. That leads to my website. Although I think the palette that I have here that I recommended, it keeps going out of stock, so I might need to change it. Any questions or comments before we wrap up in a little bit? Thank you, Thordis. Thanks for coming. You're welcome, Susan. Try a few things here. I think like last time, this did feel very short. Oh, sorry, can you guys hear me receiving a phone call? You can't hear it? Oh, okay. I think I gotta figure out how to mute those during class because they go to my computer too, unless I'm in a different focus mode. It's usually a spam caller. Yeah, like I was saying, I think this class felt a little short too. Maybe I'll try to make a few other adjustments for next time. Maybe we'll do less drawing at the beginning and go straight in with the brushes. If you've got any preference or other suggestions, I'm very open. There's pink. I think so far my first and second butterflies have dried, so if I want to add more detail, I can add another layer, maybe like with black. Let me try to I noticed this pattern on some of the butterflies. Oops. I made a mistake. Something like that. Stripey. Huh. How are you all doing? Yay. Okay. Well, you're welcome to stay as long as you'd like. I'm going to pause here. I'll leave this on for now. But let me know if you have any questions while we're still on. You're welcome, Janice. I'm just going to leave this here in case you are referencing it.